What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel for another live PLO hand. In today's episode, we're going to look into an over $1 million pot, including Tom Dwan playing Pot Limit Omaha on Hustler Casino Live. Tom is going to pull off one of the most creative lines that I've ever seen in high-stakes PLO. I'm not sure if it's genius or if it's a punt. But as they say, there's a thin line between genius and insanity, and Tom Dwan is certainly right on that edge. You guys decide. Let's jump into the action.
That's the last time we could hear about that.
Of course I have a set.
Very friendly.
Airball
friendly
set.
bet.
You think I made a good fold or a bad?
Oh, maybe I said, of course he has a
Tom.
set. Yeah.
Airball said, of course he has.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So here we go, guys.
After further thought, that's correct.
Charles gonna
Tom
3-bet with
slammed
King
over
9-8-6.
aces.
Marius picks up aces.
The 10,
No
9,
suit
7,
though.
7 or whatever.
He's just gonna call, it looks like.
It's like that. These Norwegians.
No, Charles raised them.
Big pot energy, lock in chat.
I thought Marius raised. That's why I was curious. I was like, I haven't seen Marius.
So Tom Dwan's gonna come in on the button, ace, queen, jack, 4.
Yeah,
And for us, gonna come in as well, 9-9-8-7. So we are super deep here. 60,000 already in the middle.
string calls are allowed.
Our hand begins with the professor, who open raises king, queen, jack 3 with a jack high suit in the hijack position. He makes it 2.5 big blinds. This is a tat to lose. This hand needs to be double suited, or altogether you want to choose a different hand class. Now, if you're looking to expand your range, maybe because of image reasons or because you do want to see more flops given your assumed post-flop edge, then the way to do that is to include hands that have more nutted potential. What will happen here very often is you will end up in a multi-way, single-raised, or 3-bet pot, and you want to have a hand that can either apply pressure or perform against pressure well. And the way to do that is by having nutted suits and by having more connectivity, which leads to a strong connection to the flop. A prime example here would be ace 10 4 3 with an ace high suit does better than the king queen jack 3 with a jack high suit to expand your range. Both are not GTO opened, but ace 10 4 3 is losing a lot less at equilibrium than king queen jack 3. Other examples could be 9-8-6-5, or even a hand like king jack 10-5, where you have a king high suit and the jack 10 connectivity. Oftentimes people mix those together. King queen jack and king jack 10 are vastly different because jack 10 is the most nutted 2-card combination and is going to perform in multi-way pots a lot better. So next up we have Dwan on the button, and he looks down at ace queen jack 4 with a queen high suit. This hand is not stellar. However, there are some things to consider. The raise size is very small, and we have 3 blinds plus a big blind ante, so there's a much higher incentive to come into the pot, and 2.5k is a small price to pay to play in position. So this call is fine and also GTO approved. Then we have Firas in the small blind. He has 9-9-8-7 rainbow. This is an okay call. The hand is connected. You can flop a set, and you can flop a wrap or a straight. So this seems to be fine so far. Charles now in the big blind looks down at king 9-8-6 double suited. Very much looks like a hand you do want to consider 3-bet squeezing. However, this is actually a hand that wants to fold. If you're looking to 3-bet squeeze, you really want to make sure you are very connected, so where all 4 cards play together. In this case, the gap between the king and the 9 and the additional gap at the bottom between the 8 and the 6 makes this hand actually a fold. If this would be king 9-8-7, where we have a 3 connector at the bottom without a gap, then this would make it into the 3-betting range. The hands you generally want to look out for are hands like 8-7-6-5, where you have very connected hands that are double suited, but also hands like queen jack 8-7, queen 10 8-9, hands that basically have minimal gaps and are double suited. I would generally be a little bit careful in live games of 3-betting too many of those combos, just because you have very little fold equity, and in GTO land you assume a lot more fold equity, and you're not pushing a pre-flop advantage with those hands. So next up you see Marius making a quick cold call of a 3-bet holding ace 4-4 rainbow. Now this is an optimal spot to click it back. He can 4-bet to a size that allows Charles to reopen the action. So if he is worried that a 4-bet gets overcalled by one of the monster stacks like Dwan, You can see here Marius is very deep with Dwan, $440,000 behind. Charles can still reopen the action, which then allows Marius to basically shove pre-flop. So the optimal line here would be to reopen the action, click it back to Charles, isolate against one player with the best hand, and play these aces only against one player, pretty much all in pre-flop. But he does decide to call. The professor gets out of the way, and Tom Dwan makes the call on the button. This makes sense. He's closing the action. He's ultra deep against Marius. And he also has relative position, which means that Charles, the 3-better, is usually going to act first because it will get checked to him from the small blind. And then if he pots, Tom Dwan has position on Marius, who's now sandwiched between Charles and himself. So relative position is also very often quite valuable, especially if you're ultra deep. Fierce makes the call, makes total sense, and we're heading to a flop.
No.
I'm learning.
You can see after. I don't want to be giving away reads.
Tom Dwan flops the queen eye flush draw. Marius
track record of people
has the blockers with the 4.
And then right after they say, of course I didn't give away a read.
Charles, as the 3-better, only has a pot size bet left.
And Wesley both.
Flops his top pair, might just have to go with it.
Hands I've ever played on TV, and they're both like,
I mean,
no 0% I gave away anything.
I think Doug tried to do what he thought was best, but in doing so,
Doesn't mean he didn't give away anything.
No, in doing so, he gave away a lot.
Yeah, I'm not talking shit about either of them as people, but they both gave away a little something.
你要试一试吗？
Charles goes very small, 20K.
我觉得你应该很喜欢。
Marius is going to call with his aces and 4s. He has aces, but
Go 35.
has a straight draw. Dwan has a weak flush draw with the queen high, but he also has the gutter as well.
他说32，我觉得他不32。如果你觉得他能算的话呢，就是33。可是如果是33，也是奇怪啊。我觉得是32。
The flop comes down 6-3 deuce with 2 spades and 1 heart, and Charles has only top pair. He basically whiffed the flop, and it's time to give up. However, he decides to go ahead and c-bet as a bluff 20K into 3 opponents. In PLO, you do require more equity or an enormous amount of blockers in this case to c-bet. I also would advocate for a larger sizing and just pot, which takes maximum advantage of the fact that you are shorter stacked than the rest of the players. If you were to pot here 58,000 into the middle, then Marius behind has to consider how deep he is with Tom Dwan and Furious behind. And this makes it very awkward and usually makes people under-realize their equity, which basically means that they can't call as many hands as if they would be heads up or if they were shorter. So Charles bets 20K. And Marius is next to act. He has ace 4-4, and he doesn't see a hand out there that beats him that Charles would be 3-betting pre-flop, and he is right. He is also blocking 4-5, holding pocket 4s. And the best way to play this hand, in my opinion, would be to raise now on the flop against this small bet in order to chase out the players behind him. If the players behind him will face a 20K bet into a 100K pot or in the small blind, potentially 120K pot, they will get enormous odds to continue, and they would actually be continuing correctly against Marius 1-pair holding. So chasing out draws, chasing out overpairs and gutters, or even flush draws on the flop is very valuable for Marius, and also isolating himself against Charles, who probably has a hand like an overpair and a flush draw, is completely fine in order to play for the pot heads up. So Marius is going to make the call, and now Dwan is getting 5-1 behind. He is on the button very deep, and he has a gut shot and a queen eye flush draw. It is not the best hand, obviously, at this point, and he's also not holding another draw. However, there's no way he can fold getting 5-1 in a spot like that. So he has to see a turn card here in position, and calling the 20K is pretty much the only line that makes sense. And we will see him make the call, and Furious will get out of the way. Let's head to a turn.
So here we go, guys. Both players turn to straight with the ace-4. Charles goes all in with his gut shot, and Marius facing 53,000 to call. And Tom Dwan actually covers Marius this hand. He's got about 100,000 more in his stack, so Tom Dwan has about 500K here. He also has the straight with the flush redraw, and Marius just calls. The only hand Tom Dwan loses to here, actually Tom Dwan loses to any 5-4, 6-4, 3-4, deuce-4. The ace-4, the third nuts in this situation. Tom Dwan bets the pot, and Marius has the pure blockers with the 4-4. He blocks 4-7 and the other straights. It's a $328,000 pot-sized bet from Tom Dwan, and he covers Marius. Marius would have to put in his entire stack.
So on the turn, the 5 of clubs, Charles jams all in for half pot. This is not advisable. Like, it's very unlikely both of his opponents are going to fold. They will improve on a 5 very often to a straight, at least 2 pair. And even if they happen to have an overpair and a flush draw for half pot, they're not going to fold. And in any case, they will have Charles's hand pretty much dead. Now, more interesting decision point here. Mario is now facing the half pot size jam. He does have a straight, and he's blocking some of the other straights. Now realize that if you have 2 4s in this case, it doesn't mean your opponent cannot have a straight at all. As ranges get more narrow, in this case by the flop action, it is much more likely that Tom does have a straight. And once again, there are 3 straights possible here. There is a 5 high straight, a 6 high straight, and a 7 high straight. And having a 6 high straight is extremely easy. You just need a deuce 4, 3 4, 4 5, or 4 6. And obviously 4-7 is also a possibility. But I think for half pot, Marius cannot get away from this one. He makes the call. And now Tom Dwan starts having evil plans. He's considering a couple of things. Marius just calls, so it doesn't look like Marius has a very good straight. Like, for sure not 4-7, because 4-7 generally would want to isolate and protect against the flush draws or potential sets. Now, Tom Dwan probably puts Marius on either a flush draw, maybe in some sort of combination with a straight draw, or he's going to put him on a 6 high straight. And a 6 high straight here, given the stack sizes in play, is a hand class that is very tough to continue with if you're facing a pot size raise in this 3-way scenario on the turn. So I think what Tom Dwan is doing here by raising the turn is he's trying to accomplish 2 things at the same time. On the one side, he wants flush draws to either pay, so hands that are currently behind, and extract value, maybe from a hand like pocket kings or pocket queens with a flush draw. He also wouldn't mind getting those hands out of the pot. And at the same time, he also wants to apply maximum pressure to a 6 high straight and potentially make that hand fold. So by raising the turn, he's trying to make better hands fold, maybe get an ace-4 to fold as well. So the same hand to fold, a better hand to fold, but also extract value from flush draws or potentially deny equity from flush draws. So this is a multi-purpose raise on the turn. And it really depends who you're playing against, because if you're trying to move someone off a 6 high straight here, you need a lot of credibility, and the other player needs to be very familiar with PLO to begin with. So maybe not a move to try at home, but let's see how this is going to work out for Dwan. And you guys let me know in the comments as well what you think about this race on the turn.
So if Marius does go all in here, Tom Dwan will have a massive draw for $1 million pot with spades. All in.
Jesus Christ. Call.
Call.
Can we do
Small straight.
We now have over $1 million pot, $1.07 million. I'm told by Feldman.
Free roll,
Tom Dwan has a free roll to win a $1 million pot here if he hits a spade. Lauren about to deal the river card. Here it comes. It's a 3.
Let's see if anyone gets any oxygen.
Both players have a straight. Chop it up.
Cannot win. Can only lose.
River card.
But you have 2 4s, like.
A 10.
So nice. Not good stack there.
And Charles down a little bit more money
How the
now.
fuck do you call me, Marius? You sick motherfucker.
Really? Two fours.
So? What the fuck, buddy?
Well, of course you had a 4. The 4
I
is
thought I was gonna
irrelevant.
fold, and you were gonna show me like.
Yeah,
Fair.
yeah, I'm gonna show you like a set with the 7-8 of spades or something. Like, yeah, that could happen. What the fuck?
I'm not folding.
I mean, you should kind of be a little bit happy, Tom, that you didn't have fucking bigger straight.
It's a 200K swing if Charles just is a normal human and lets me run it 3
You just
times.
had 4-3.
You're dead.
I'm dead. I'm literally dead. I have no